Hey, there I am. That's me, Jess Chandler, Brightwave project manager. Have been now for just over a year. And I'm just going to talk you through what led me here, like what experiences I've been through to get to that role and to get to being in front of all you guys today. Oh, too fast. Right, so yeah, I studied illustration, started off at the Met, did a art foundation course there, moved on to study illustration at Southampton Solent. That's where I got my degree. Really, really loved it. So illustration is kind of like a communicative design drawing. It's like a mix between fine art and graphic design. Just a really good experience, fully immersed myself in that creative living for the 3 years I was there, put on a lot of art events and curated, some exhibitions within the uni, so really filled up my time with that. A lot of people say, oh, you have a degree in colouring in the lines, and I'm like, yeah, but I loved it. Like, it was so good. So that ended. I was the struggling artist for a while, so I did the pub works. Really good, like social life, you can get a little bit of money for that, and it was fine. Did the artwork on the side, but then that only lasts for so long, and I had to move forward. So I ended up managing a restaurant. It was a fine dining restaurant in Kent Town. Oh, it was really interesting to see how the other side live, how they interact with each other. That really drew on my sort of like that organisational side of myself, where I'd put on these art events. I now had to use those skills to manage a restaurant. I still got to do the art. I did a lot of the marketing for the restaurant. But then it just started getting busier as we got more popular, and that took me away from that artistic side that I'd spent so much time and money sort of investing in. So I knew I had to like shift out of that. I wasn't going to be a restaurant manager forever. So I ended up teaching in a school. I went to work in an all-boys boarding school for children with special educational needs and vulnerability, and it was really, really rewarding. I got to teach graphics and photography and art to them, and because of the challenges they faced when it came to learning, I really had to cater what I was doing to each kind of mindset and find out what worked best for them. So that kind of, like looking back now, I think that's where my interest in how we learn sort of started, and that was through teaching at the school. So yeah, none of that is important for you guys at all. It's important for me though. All that stuff is what Brightwave saw in me to give me the role I'm in now. All that stuff led me to where I am. You'll have things that you're like, well, that doesn't really count for anything at the moment, but it does, I promise, and it will count for something. And don't cast anything aside. Just go with whatever you have and wherever you've come from and put that forward, and let other people decide, actually, I'm going to pick this, this is good. Don't cast it off yourself. So just go for things. So definitely been where you are, thinking, what am I going to do? What am I actually going to do? It can be a bit scary, but we've all been there. We're all going to be there. It's just a part of life. If we didn't have these things, that means we're not moving and we're not trying to change direction. So it's a good thing to be in. You're in a good position. So I think one of the main things I sort of asked myself was, what do I actually want? I didn't know at all, didn't know what I wanted, and all I knew was that I didn't want to feel stuck anymore. So I'd been in all these jobs where I'd sort of gotten to a point and there was no progression. So I ended at school because I didn't want to go back to uni. I didn't want to put all that money back into getting a PGCE. And I didn't want to be in a job where I was putting all of myself into it and not getting any of that coming back round to me. So that was my main priority, was just to find something that was fresh and that I wouldn't feel stuck in. So it was actually a friend of mine who knew me through hospitality that put forward this idea of becoming a project manager. There was a job opening where she worked, and she knew me as that organiser and that problem solver rather than the creative person I was also. And she could see me kind of putting these projects together in a creative way rather than pens and paper. So I took that job description, and I started checking out Brightwave. And I started forming an idea of what I thought it would be like to work there, and I just got a good feeling about that. So trust your gut, right? So far so good, keep going for it. I actually wasn't sure what e-learning was or what Brightwave was before I applied for the job there. I was like, I'll figure that out later. I'll just get my toe in the door. The more I kept reading the job description, I could see things. I'm like, well, I know I can do that because I've been doing that. And although I haven't been doing that in this industry, everything's tangible. You'll have those tangible skills. So that's kind of a big message I just wanted to say, like, everything does count, everything is tangible, and if you get a good vibe for a website or a job description, even if you're not sure what they do, just go for it. You can find that stuff out later. E-learning is boring, yes, this is a great slide. Isn't e-learning boring? We've all done boring e-learning. We've all been sat in front of the computer, just like a tap marathon, thinking, when will it end? I want to go home. Maybe it was boring, but not so much from where I'm sat now. And I think that's why it's a great thing to get into, because it's having to change and move, because it's having to come away from that. We're having to sort of engage people, and that's becoming more of a challenge. So e-learning is moving really quickly. So I went for this job as a project coordinator at the time, and I found a lot more than I was actually expecting to find there. I thought I would just be kind of answering the phone and putting things together, and I wasn't really sure where it could take me. But now I've been on video productions shoots, so I've done some drama shoots, some green screen shoots, and not even just getting to learn how that works, but actually having to throw myself into it and learn on the job, because I've got to organise these things, and I get to work with the suppliers and see where they've come from and how they've pulled this video production together. So you get to see the whole sort of life cycle of productions. The same goes for animation. Having that artistic background, I found myself having quite strong opinions about the animations we were putting in the courses, and the more I voiced that opinion, the more I was kind of given space to go with that. So Brightwave actually gave me the space to develop some animations as a producer would on a course for one of our biggest clients, and presenting something to the big scary client that you've sort of like put together yourself and you've decided this is it, and getting that good feedback is just so satisfying, and it sort of validates all that art degree and everything that I'd got that had led me to that point. I'm just reading my notes. VR, AR and 360-degree photography. I've been on a few 360-degree shoots now, and again, just like the video production, it's getting to learn that process and learn how that comes together whilst doing. So you really get to immerse yourself in the job and learn these suppliers and how they're bringing this together. And virtual reality, I'd always sort of considered virtual reality to be like a gamer thing, and really throw much interest into that. Actually, having studied illustration and wanting to see how you could communicate ideas, VR is the best tool for this. And I find myself going to sort of like VR events now in Brighton and wanting to learn more about it. So it's opened a whole new door and a whole new interest for me in that way, just because it's such a good way of storytelling and getting information across. Clients. So my main job is to be a day-to-day contact for our clients, and helping them through our process and making sure whatever their vision for the course is actually becomes a reality. And that's another challenge, that I can hone in on those hospitality skills that I've got with me, taking that relationship where they're not really sure what they're doing, and you know they're trusting us with a lot here, and I've got to take that and nurture it along with the project lifecycle, and to be able to get closer into a project and start having much more casual conversations with a client and just breaking that sort of like really serious relationship down is just really satisfying as well, and it's just really nice to see how people learn what the process is and what you're doing. So I hope I've preached the job satisfaction of e-learning there for you, with all that media stuff and the client relationships that you have to nurture. There's so many places you can sort of try and put yourself. I loved animation, I put myself forward into that, and I was given space to develop in that a little bit more. There's a lot of job satisfaction to be had and to be found within it. And that is one thing I've learned about e-learning. So I've only been in it for a year, and I can already see how much it's developed. The type of content and courses that are required is changing all the time, so nothing feels the same. We are moving so quickly, the way we interact with information and how we receive it. I think I heard our attention span is 4 seconds now. So if you're not engaged by the time you're ready to swipe up, you've shuffled on to the next piece of information. And that need to engage people is what fuels e-learning, because that's what fuels companies into putting more money into e-learning. More money means more fun for us, because we get to experiment with these tools and we get to come up with, we always get that challenge of, I want something that's engaging and new. And the more clients you get asking for that, it's just going to, that industry is going to move quicker, and it's just more opportunity for you and for me to sort of decide where I want to go with this, and it's exciting stuff. As I said, a year in, I still don't really know where I'm going to go with this, because there is so much coming in and there are so many opportunities I can see ahead of me, and so many places I can sort of decide to position myself into. I'm far, far from that feeling of stuck that I was before, and that's just really nice. And as I mentioned before, because the courses are all new and the content's all new, every day is sort of feeling different. I don't feel like I'm repeating myself at all. That's one more thing I found. So having been an art student and a struggling artist and then a restaurant manager, I'd sort of avoided offices as long as I could. I had this idea of repetitive, lifeless, grey, just really didn't want to do it. But actually what I found was a really energetic office with lots of colour and buzz and lots of interesting people who had also come from really interesting backgrounds. And the more you talk to them, the more you learn about what's led them there. Because I don't think anyone sort of goes, I'm going to be an e-learning designer when I grow up. I don't think that happens. So everyone's got these backgrounds that count for something. Oh, that went really fast. You prepare so much and it goes so quickly. If you do have any questions or tips on public speaking, please come tell me. You can find me floating around. I will be at the Brightwave stand in the main hall-y thing. Just come grab me. And thank you for coming to listening to me ramble for that.